Hello, everybody, and welcome to Press Any Button. I'm Nicky.
I'm Eric.
And I'm DJ Jimenez.
And today we're going to be talking about the one, the only, Final Fantasy VII.
Not technically the only.
Now, yes.
My bad. I was trying to be all epic, but
the
it
original,
backfired.
the original Final Fantasy VII.
The best Final
And in
Fantasy.
case you don't know, Final Fantasy VII is a 1997 RPG developed by Square for PlayStation. The game's story follows Cloud Strife, a mercenary who joins an eco-terrorist organization to stop the world-controlling megacorporation Shinra from using the planet's life essence as an energy source. Events send Cloud and his allies in pursuit of Sephiroth, a former member of the corporation who seeks to destroy the planet. Spoiler warning, there will be some major spoilers for this game in this episode.
Right.
We're going to be discussing all the story
I mean, the
things.
game is old, but because it's being re-released, they still might be spoilers for some people.
It's some, but like at this point, it's a sin if you haven't played it. And like at this point, it's whatever.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so I'm excited to learn all about this game. This is my first time playing it,
Yeah.
but I know you guys have played it before. So Eric, are you excited?
Yeah, I'm really excited to hear about the history.
All right. Are you ready to get into it, DJ?
Oh, hell yeah.
All
All
right.
right, let's do it. Cool. So, where does it all begin?
Oh, man. So honestly, like I was talking about this with my roommates, that you can almost make a documentary about this game, like its development process, because it's so unique. It was released in 1997, as you said. Mm-hmm. Production started in 1994. And one of the reasons why it's like at the time why it was so obscured is because games back then only took like a year or two to make versus now it takes like a while, but sometimes it doesn't take as much because now there's like huge amount of people that works on games. This game, just to kind of give you context, the average game team development team was like 20 to 50 people. This had 150 people like, around there working on it.
Yeah.
So, like double the normal game.
Yeah, like double, triple. I forgot what the average budget was. I had it pulled up, but I didn't write it down. But this game's budget overall with marketing and development was around $80 million. Like by far the most expensive game at the time.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
And-
nuts.
Yeah.
That's a huge budget.
Yeah, and so it was kind of split in half. It was like 40 million in marketing, 40 million on development. And like when you think about it, it's like 150 people split like, $40 million. These people, like they definitely made bank making this game, but there's a lot of stress stories that comes with it. A lot of internal company battles. Like one of the biggest stories is, so this game was originally, a lot of people don't know this, was supposed to be for the N64.
Ooh.
And Square was with Nintendo, and like at first Square approached Nintendo with it, and it was like they're gonna make it. Then Nintendo released a tech demo of Final Fantasy VI. Final Fantasy VI was, or let me back up. Final Fantasy VII was the first Final Fantasy in the series to be 3D modeled. Everything else was 2D sprites. Then Nintendo showed a tech demo with Final Fantasy VI characters in a 3D world. It was like this one fight scene, and people went nuts on it. They were like, oh my god, that's awesome. Square was pretty positive with Nintendo, but Nintendo then released that, like, hey, we're still going to be in a cartridge, 64 bits. And then Square was like, I don't know how I feel about this. The CD is becoming more powerful. Mm-hmm. And so they talked it over with Sony, and they were like, hey, we can put Final Fantasy VII with ours and maybe split it into 3 or 4 discs. And Square was like, that sounds better. They wanted to push like the CGI cutscenes, the pre-rendered background. So then eventually Square and Sony teamed up to make Final Fantasy VII, and there was a little bit of beef and company back then. It was pretty hilarious.
So they just didn't think that they could make it for a Nintendo 64. It just wasn't powerful enough.
It wasn't powerful enough. So the theory is that technically it could have been, but instead of like, there's no Nintendo game with multiple cartridges. This would have been the first one with multiple cartridges, but it would have been like 13 of them instead of PlayStation with 3 discs.
Yeah.
And
So they did the right move.
I don't know about you guys, but I could barely keep up with one disc or one like cartridge without losing it. So like, imagine being a kid and you have to keep up with like 14 cartridges. You need like a whole suitcase just for this one game.
I was the minority of the kid. I took care of all my gaming stuff, and I was super paranoid on letting my friends borrow any of my games, especially CDs, because like when I would go over to their house and their rooms would be messy, I'm like, yo, where's my game?
And then you check it and inspect it as soon as they give it back to you.
It's another game in the case, and you're just like, dude, come on, Kevin, what the heck? And so like I refuse to let people borrow my stuff unless I know that they take care of it like I take care of it.
Yeah.
So I was super paranoid on that.
Yeah, I totally get like Square Enix's issue though. Like the N64, you had a limited amount of memory you could use. So they wanted just to like be able to go nuts with the game.
They definitely did. They definitely went nuts.
And I mean, later Nintendo came out with the expansion pack, but still, it didn't really do justice. So I love Nintendo. Don't get me wrong, but I am so glad that Square decided to go with Sony for Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, it was definitely the right call for sure.
Another fun fact about the game is that technically it's not even finished. So I don't know if you're familiar with Final Fantasy VIII and how the sprites look, the graphics.
Yeah, they look way better.
Way better. Like
I know nothing about Final Fantasy.
Well, it's not about Final Fantasy. It's like you're familiar with just the image, like the 2D sprites besides 7. So it was like 1 through 6. It was complete 2D sprites. And then 7 was the first one to do the 3D world. 7 stands alone by itself in that 3D world only because they had the characters, have you seen them in the overworld, the polygon figures and stuff? So that wasn't supposed to be it. And then when you look at 8 and 9, there's no polygon. Like they look, like good body figures.
More realistic.
Yeah. More realistic. And it was supposed to be that. And then, you have 8 and 9 as reference points. And then the 10 is the PS2, and then the PS2 pushed it even further. But 7 stands by itself with a polygon, and people thought like, oh, it was a creative choice. And it's like, no, it actually wasn't finished. Technically, it wasn't finished. I say technically because the game is riddled with a lot of glitches. And like even the one that, what are you playing it on?
Switch.
Yeah, it's like a report to the Switch or whatever.
Yeah. So even with the Switch, there's glitches that you can manipulate in the game that like acts as cheat. Like you can increase 99 potions, 99 mega elixirs and stuff like that. There's other glitches in the game that like works in your benefits, kind of like cheats, like the old school cheats.
Yeah.
And
how do you get those? Do you have to put in like a code?
No,
or you have to like jump into a secret wall, or I don't know.
It's like a little bit of inputting the right buttons, but it won't brick your game or anything. So one of the funny things about the game is that I'm not a coding expert, but apparently from listening to a bunch of people, there's a lot of weird codes in the game. And when the game was like finished, one of the things you do is go back and like erase some of the codes, like polish it up. And they were so paranoid about like messing anything up that they were like, listen, let's just hide it from public view and let's just push the game out there. So they didn't want to ruin the graphics. They didn't want to ruin any of the codings. So because of that, some people discovered like fun little glitches that you can do, like increase items, skip certain cutscenes and stuff like that. And it's awesome.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Speedruns take advantage of that. It's pretty cool.
I was looking at like the speedrun website or whatever. I was looking at how long the speedruns for this game take.
Yeah.
I think the record is like somewhere around 6.5 hours or something like that.
Probably. I wouldn't doubt it.
That's still a really long speedrun.
I've skipped a couple of cutscenes before just to test it out. And I was like, whoa, I wasn't trying to speedrun. I was like, can you really cut this like easy? And it was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
So I had a question. Did they have such a huge budget just because it was like gonna be one of PlayStation's first new big games, or was it because all the rest of the games before did so well, or maybe a combo of the two?
I would say probably a combo of the two. I know that like the history of Final Fantasy, like I have the guy's name, Hironobu Sakaguchi. He's like one of the creators of Final Fantasy. The reason why it got its name Final Fantasy is because when they worked at Square, they were trying to create a JRPG that, you know, was successful not only in Japan but also in the West and other parts in the world. And they created a game before Final Fantasy. They got a budget, didn't do so well. They got one last chance before, like, if this game wasn't successful, then they were going to disband. And Sakaguchi and his team was like, kind of as like a tongue-in-cheek joke, was like, let's just call it Final Fantasy because this is our final time. We got to get it right.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
So the first ever Final Fantasy did well, and it sold well not only in Japan but in America as well. It got greenlit for a sequel, and so then Final Fantasy II came out, and basically Final Fantasy started to continue on. But one of the things that it was creative, that they didn't want to subject themselves to like a singular story, so they made sure every game was different. So one of the common questions you get is like, oh, you should play Final Fantasy VII. Well, I haven't played the first 6.
Yeah.
Like, no, you don't have to.
It's like you're not going to understand the story at all.
At all.
No.
So they're not all connected. They're all their own separate games.
Yeah. So I think by the time they reached 7 and 6 was
so
really,
wait,
really
is
successful.
Cloud in the other games?
No.
He's just in this one.
Yeah, this is his first debut. However, he's in other spin-off games, but they're not connected.
Okay.
7 is by far its own universe. Now, technically, 7 and 10 are connected, but like it's complete lore, and you do not have to play 7 in order to understand 10, nor do you have to play 10 to understand 7. It's like a hidden lore.
Wait, 7 and 10 are connected? This is new to me.
Kinda. So technically 10 is a prequel to 7.
What?
Technically.
What?
Very loosely.
You're blowing my mind, dude.
All right,
Whoa.
so, okay, have you played 10-2?
I played like halfway through and I'm like, this isn't that great.
Yeah, it wasn't. My roommate loves it. He's going to hate me if he hears this. So to make a super long story short, in 10-2, there's a character called Shinra. Like, that's his name. That's, like, legit his name. And as you know, when you talk to him, you trigger a cutscene where he discovers that there's, like, energy flowing within the planet. And he's like, and he says the dialogue, something along the lines of, if we could somehow invent something to harness the planet's energy, we could do so much cool things with this. So that was it. That was a vague line that fans took and blew it out of proportion. But then it got confirmed on Final Fantasy VII Remake. In the remake, when you're in the Shinra building, there is a poster with all the Shinra executives. And if you look closely, there's the guy from Final Fantasy X, and he wears a mask. And then it basically got confirmed that, like, 10 is the prequel to 7.
That is so confusing.
It's so stupid. I hate it so much, but it's whatever.
It's very much on brand with this game.
Yeah.
Because,
It's like, none of them are interconnected except for 10, which is the prequel to 7.
Yeah.
But very loosely. It's only a prequel because it has this
Very
one guy
loosely,
in it.
Very loosely.
That's hilarious. And it's not even like the original 10. It's 10-2. It's like Final Fantasy X, I think, was the only one to have like a direct like second sequel.
It was the first one to get a sequel.
Yeah. So it's just so weird.
Yeah. When I discovered that like a couple of years ago, and I believe it, but I refuse to believe it. When did the remake came out? 2019, 2020?
Yeah, 2020, I think.
Yeah. So when that came out, I was like, "Are you serious? All right, whatever." I don't care.
That's
and 10-2 is not even that great anyway, so I don't care.
You say 10-2, so is there a 10-1?
Yes.
Yes.
And then
it's
there's a
10.
10-2.
Yeah.
That's confusing.
Yeah. So like
They're not even going to call it 10 part 1 and part 2.
So it was
just
Final
like,
Fantasy 10, and then people wanted more of 10. Like 10 was super popular, so then they created 10/2, so it's 10-2 or 10-2.
Yeah, the only one they made a sequel to, like the sequel to the story, you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like every other
that's
one is
kinda
like
cool,
a
though.
standalone story.
Yeah, Final Fantasy 1 and then Final Fantasy 2, they're not connected. They just share certain terminology and all that stuff, but it's completely different. And then 10 and 10-2 takes place 2 years after 10, I believe. And then it was supposed to get a third, but it just didn't go through because of the sales of 10-2. Mm-hmm. And then it wasn't until Final Fantasy 13 that it got its own trilogy.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nuts.
So when Final Fantasy VII, it was released in Japan January 31st, 1997. America didn't get theirs until September 1997. America technically got the better version because so when they released it in Japan, there were certain side quests, certain weapons, and certain enemies that wasn't in the game yet because they didn't want to ruin it. But then later they added it, but they didn't want to ruin the Japanese market. People already bought the game, so they didn't want to release it, so they just gave it to America, and they tested it to see if it'll be even better. Japan actually got a harder game too. So apparently the enemies were tougher and more unforgiving in the Japan release, and they dumbed it down a little bit for America. And which was frustrating to find out when I found out as an adult. I was like, I was getting my ass kicked as a kid with this, and Japan got a harder version. I don't want to play it.
And you had more weapons as well.
America had more weapons.
So it was easier and you had more weapons.
Yeah.
So
we had a better version. And then Japan later, I think, so it was split into 3 discs. And then eventually Japan got all the extra stuff that we got in a 4th disc. And so that was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
The super bosses in Final Fantasy VII was no joke. Ruby weapon and Emerald weapon, they were tough.
Yeah, God, I remember playing those, and then like it took me so many tries. Like they had these like moves that would just wipe out your party, and you'd have to figure out how to like somehow have one of your party members survive or something so they could revive the rest of them.
Yeah, it wasn't about just hitting hard. It was like a puzzle of a boss fight, which was weird.
Yeah.
But one of my proudest moments as a kid was I think I beat Final Fantasy VII in its entirety without like a guidebook, without the internet, maybe within 4 years. Like I would just go back and play the game and discover new things. I loved it so much. And with Emerald weapon, it was the first one that I beat. Ruby weapon, I had to wait till I got the internet and all that stuff. But
yeah, this is kind of like right when internet was getting, you know, really popular.
Oh man, it was tough. It was a puzzle, and I like puzzles, and it was so tough. And then other cutscenes too, like Vincent. Vincent's one of my favorite characters. He's an optional character. Did you unlock him?
Yeah.
So a cool thing is like when you open up the physical case of Final Fantasy VII, it shows you all the characters. You remember back with games had the books inside the game case?
Yeah.
I kind of missed that, I'm not going to lie. So
long ago. I still have some friends who are like very adamant about getting the physical game. So they have the case and they have all the book, you know, they have the book and like
they don't
all
do
that.
the book anymore. Fun fact, it's cutting costs.
Dang.
Yeah.
But I'm one of the newer gen people. I'm just like, I don't want all that stuff that I have to keep up with, and like it's gonna get dusty.
Yeah, for me, it's my story games. I like to have the physical copy of it, but my multiplayers, I don't care. I'll download digitally and switch between them.
That makes sense. Because multiplayers are kind of temporary anyway. Like usually the servers die off, and you can't really play them at a certain point.
Can you even get like a physical version of like Fall Guys? Like, can you buy that? No. Yeah, you kind of have to just get the digital version. So
I started doing digital, but Final Fantasy VII, the case for that, when like I opened and read the booklet, you got to read all the characters, a little bio for each character, and I saw Sephiroth, and I'm like, oh man, he looks cool, and they made it look like he was going to be a playable character, air quote on that, and then I saw Vincent and Yuffie, and I'm just thinking like, oh man, cool, when am I going to meet this person? my first playthrough, I went through the whole game. I never got Vincent or Yuffie. and then bumping into Yuffie in the forest, and then when you beat her and you get to talk to her, but you have to do it a certain order in order to, have her join your party.
Yeah, I mean, when I first bumped into her, I had no idea. So, you just talk to her, and then she goes off and steals your money, and you're like, oh, that was weird.
Yeah, and then they trick you with the saving point right there. I remember thinking, she was like, all right, let's do round 2 and all that stuff. And I thought, as a kid, I was like, oh, she's actually tougher. So let me go ahead and save so I don't get a game over. And then when you save, it's a trick. So when you save and you exit out of the screen, she disappears and she takes like 200 of your...
Oh, man.
And she's like, haha, suckers, and all that stuff. And so you had to answer the dialogue in a specific order in order to unlock her.
Yeah.
Vincent, you had to crack the combination and get the key to the basement, but you had to find all the numbers that was in the mansion, and that was
last number still screws me up, man.
Yeah.
Because there are 4 numbers hidden in this mansion, and you basically find them on specific spots. And you have 3 clues that will kind of tell you where the first 3 are. Mm-hmm. But the 4th one is just blank, and there's nothing there.
So you just have to look everywhere.
So no,
well, yeah, you think that you're like, okay, let me look all over this mansion, and it's kind of annoying because it's constantly random battles.
I mean, how many numbers are there?
There's 4.
There's 4.
But I mean, out of is it like 1 through 9?
No, 1 through 99.
1 through 99.
Oh, because I was gonna be like, yeah, just put the first 3 in, and just do all the other options, easy.
You have 20 seconds or 30 seconds in order to crack the safe.
Yeah.
So you have to input the number, and you can't go past the number. So if one number is 10 and you're going back, if you hit 9 and go back to 10, you won't get it.
Yeah, brute forcing it would have taken forever.
Yeah. And the way I got that 4th number was sheer luck. One day as a kid, I was just going through the 3rd clue, and then I just kept hitting it, and then I went to the last one. I was like, you shouldn't be able to do this. And I clicked on it, and it was like, oh, something written in invisible ink. The 4th number is 96. And I was like, well, shit, how the hell am I supposed to figure that out?
Yeah, so you're actually supposed to go down with your cursor and select the blank, which you wouldn't think you would be able to do, and then it would tell you the number.
And
this game just likes to mess with you. I feel
but what's so cool is, again, without the guidebook, without internet, it felt so rewarding to figure these things out on your own. You were put in this world, and at any point you could discover something, and then it's like going to your schoolmates and be like, oh my god, did you know there's a hidden cutscene? Did you know you can get the secret weapon this way?
Yeah, you kind of miss out on that now. Yeah. Because pretty much immediately after a game comes out, there's a walkthrough.
Spoilers, walkthrough everywhere. Yeah, all that stuff.
Which my personal mentality is, for me, to try it as many times as it's still fun. But as soon as it stops being fun, I'm like, okay, let me just go look and see how to do this and then move on.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to sit there for an hour hating on a game, and that's an hour wasted, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah, I agree. I'm old enough where that's my approach now.
But back in the day, you had no choice. You just had to be frustrated if you couldn't figure it out.
I mean, you had so many games, and this one was one of the more interesting ones because there's just so much going on in it. Mm-hmm. So it was one that you could come back to and explore and figure out stuff and play mini games and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Was there anything else in the little booklet? Did it give you tips on anything?
Yeah, one of the tips, one thing that was really cool was that, how I mentioned before, that Japan had a harder version than the US. So in the booklet, they actually tell you how to beat the first boss because they were afraid that the game was still a little bit too hard. But they thought if we teach you how to beat the first boss, then you're going to feel powerful, and then you're going to feel motivated to tackle this game. It's not as bad as you think, and
a little confidence booster.
Yeah, and it was really cool. And they perfected the limit break that they introduced in 6, which in 6 it was called desperation attack, where when your character was low on health, you'll unlock a super move to try to do more damage against a boss or whatever. And then they decided to bring that back, but perfect it in 7, where it's all right, every character has their own special limit break. It's tied to their personality, their fight style. So like with Aerith, it was all about healing. Cloud was all about doing a lot of damage. Barret was all about hitting everybody all at once.
Yeah.
And all these cool things. It was really awesome. And how you unlocked them was like different, where you had to use a certain limit break, like a set many times, like 8 times, and then you had to kill like 200 X enemies. And then your last limit break, like your best one, you had to find it in the world.
Yeah, I remember that.
That was really, really cool. And then you couldn't equip it to your character unless you unlocked all the other ones. So it motivated you to grind. But like I said earlier, like as a kid, I wasn't about the grinding at first, but then I got over it.
Yeah, that's funny.
That's awesome.
But let me ask you this, like, okay, so I want to pick your brain at this. You've never played Final Fantasy VII. This was your first time, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so one of my favorite characters, my favorite villain is Sephiroth. And, like, what did you think, like, who this guy was? Like, how did you feel? Because the first time the guy is mentioned was by President Shinra before you fought, like, this big robot, Airbuster. And he's, like, talking to Cloud saying, like, oh, sorry, I can't expect to remember everybody's name unless you're the next Sephiroth. And then you see President Shinra dead with a sword on his back, and they're like, yo, Sephiroth did this. Did you ever have it in your mind when you first played in the beginning, like, yo, who is this Sephiroth guy? Is he good? Is he bad?
Oh, yeah. It's like, he's very mysterious. Then also Cloud, too, you kind of get this idea of, like, he doesn't really exactly know what's going on either. Yeah. And then, like, I know later everything kind of hits the fan, right? Or, like, the shit hits the fan. Is that the saying?
Yeah.
Because doesn't he turn out to be... Okay, well, you think you've met him, but really it's just a bunch of clones of him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets really confusing.
And you don't find that out until the end, right? Or like closer to the end.
More like in the middle.
Yeah.
Okay. I only got about 12 hours into the game. I really tried my best, but I just...
It is a tough game. I definitely threw you into the deep end.
Yeah, it's like, spoiler alert, JRPGs, this is my first one, and I'm not sure if they're like necessarily for me, because it's just so much. And like before you got here today, I was like, okay, Eric, give me like the really dumbed down version of this story. And it was still like 10 minutes long. The story is cray-cray.
I feel like I could summarize it like, okay, a super dumbed down version is that Sephiroth, he was like the best dude, a super soldier. Like he was the best dude. He found out about the horrible experiment that made him. He thought like, oh, he was just a special baby, but then he found out he was an experiment. He goes apeshit, burns down Cloud's and Tifa's home, and then Cloud technically kills them. He disappears. 7 years later, Cloud comes back, and when he's telling the story, Tifa's like, oh, I kind of don't remember how it happened a little bit, but she's also confused because she was also like traumatized. But basically, as you find out, spoiler alert, so Cloud, he gets stabbed by Sephiroth, and then he passes out unconscious, and him and his best friend Zack, they get abducted by the scientist named Hojo, and he decides to put some of Sephiroth's genes inside Cloud, and now Cloud and Sephiroth kind of share similar genes. And
what?
And
so are they kind of like related, sort of?
Kind of, yeah.
Ooh.
And his best friend Zack, he also takes some of his genes and puts it into Cloud's, and then Zack, he breaks out. And then the way Cloud gets to Midgar, which starts the whole game, this is a super spoiler, but Zack takes Cloud and they're on their way to Midgar, and they're almost there, but then Shinra stops them, and then Zack gets gunned down, and the Buster Sword that Cloud holds, that iconic sword, was actually Zack's. And well, it was actually Angeal's, but that's another story. It was Zack's, and as Zack was dying, he gives Cloud the sword, and then Cloud is like, "Oh man, like I'm sad." But now, because of that and that trauma,
okay, hold on one second. So Cloud, the current version of Cloud that we're playing with, does not only have his genes, but he has Sephiroth. He has Sephiroth's genes and Zack's genes now.
Yes.
So he's like a weird mutant soldier person.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
creepy.
So because what happens is you don't find out about Zack till later in the game.
Way later.
Way later in the game. Do you remember at the very beginning of the game where Cloud was about to put the bomb and you're about to fight the first boss, and then he starts freaking out, he gets this headache, and a text pops up, goes like, watch out, this is not a normal reactor?
Oh, yeah.
So it's vague.
Oh, so he's got maybe like some PTSD, like
Kind of
going on.
So basically, Zack is talking to him, and you don't find this out till later in the game. Another hint is when you meet Aerith in the church, where he falls down in the church, and the screen is black, and you see this text. So Cloud is talking to somebody in his head, and that's Zack. And because it's saying these dialogues, like Zack says, like, "Oh man, I don't remember falling that high before," indicating that Zack met Aerith that way by falling to the church, which you find out later in the spin-off game Crisis Core. But yeah, so you don't find out till later in the game, like Eric said. Like, you don't find out till way later in the game that Zack is kind of inside Cloud. So basically, he has a split personality thing, but he's having this identity crisis because he shares certain memories with Zack, and he's like forgetting if he was there or if Zack was there. But it turns out they were both there. It's just Cloud was basically story stealing from Zack, but not on purpose. And so because of that, he's having this identity crisis. And during that weak moment, because Sephiroth is a little bit inside Cloud, Sephiroth's able to manipulate him just a little bit. Like, another spoiler in the game is that Cloud gives Sephiroth this black materia, which is like the most powerful magic. And like Sephiroth basically tells him like, hey, give me that powerful magic, and Cloud goes like, all right, here you go. He fights it, but like,
Yeah.
he basically controls them. Like,
And this whole party's like, what the fuck are you doing, Cloud?
yeah. And everybody in your team is like, Cloud, you just screwed us all. Like, are you working for Sephiroth? And so it gets crazy. So
it gets super confusing, for sure.
Long story short, Cloud is being controlled by Sephiroth, and Cloud is having an identity crisis. But like, I don't know. I guess I'm biased because like I know the game so well to the point where I'm like, no, okay, I get it. It's convoluted, but I get it.
But that's just Cloud's story.
That's
basically.
just Cloud's
Yeah.
story.
But you have an overall. There's like a bigger overall arcing story, which is like you have this group Avalanche that's trying to stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, initially they were trying to stop Shinra because, they're kind of killing the planet by sucking up all the Mako.
Yeah.
Mako.
Mako. I say Mako.
Tomato.
Who the hell says tomato? But so
British
basically,
people.
what 7 is, what's cool about it, and one of the reasons why, like, I don't know, like I love stories like this. Everybody has their own story, but at the end, it kind of all connects to each other.
Yeah.
Some characters connect more than others. Like, my favorite one is Vincent. So I don't know if you guys know this, so I'll mainly ask you this.
Yeah.
Do you know who Sephiroth's real mom is?
Genova.
What if I told you that's not his mom?
What?
Yeah.
Plot twist.
But like, here's the cool thing. You can find that out on the original game. This isn't like some lore that you have to go deep dive into. Vincent tells you this.
Oh, yeah?
Oh wait, you recruited him. Vincent tells you like as soon as you recruit him.
I don't have enough of a vague memory of that.
Okay. So there's this woman named Lucrezia. And
Oh yeah, that's right.
yeah, so there's a scientist woman. So there's 3 scientists. There's Professor Hojo, Lucrezia, and Professor Gas. And Vincent used to work for Shinra as one of the Turks, like Reno and Rude. So he was one of them. And Vincent was tasked to protect the scientists. So they would go to the Shinra mansion and all that stuff, do experiments. Vincent proposed to Lucrezia. She rejected him because she's with Hojo. And this one you find out in the game. This one's not a secret. Hojo is technically Sephiroth's father.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I got that part.
yeah, so Hojo impregnated Lucrezia, and as the baby was in the womb, they grabbed Genova cells and they put it in the baby. So Sephiroth was the first person to be born with Genova cells. Everybody else, like Zag, Cloud, and all that, they got Genova cells as adults.
Yeah.
So they got like a little bit of super soldier, except Sephiroth was born with it. That's what makes him super powerful.
Oh, wow.
And so Lucrezia is Sephiroth's mom, and because of this, she can't die. She's immortal now, but like she just feels horrible about it. She seals herself away behind a waterfall that you can access in the game. And when you show up with Vincent in your party on disc 3, once you unlock the submarine, you can go behind the waterfall and it triggers a cutscene, and you get to get Vincent's ultimate weapon and his 4th limit break. And yeah, you see this flashback of it all happening.
Like, nothing can be straightforward in this game. You can't just have a regular mom and a regular dad.
That's what I love about the game
no.
is like you learn something and it totally twists something you learned earlier.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's so cool.
Yeah, and I love how this game does that. Like, I love that first story just because, just as a setup, when you're playing it, you're like, okay, yeah, I get, Sephiroth was super powerful, whatever. But yeah, when you go back to it and everything's twisted and stuff, and you're like, oh, okay, like, this is what actually happened. It's, like, really cool.
Oh, man, yeah, because, like, especially that waterfall scene, I discovered it, like, just willy-nilly, because if you don't have Vincent in your party, you don't unlock that cutscene.
Yeah.
And so it took a while. When you walk into that waterfall without Vincent, I think Cloud just says the word Sephiroth. So you're like, something's supposed to happen here. And it's a really cool scene, and you're just like, I feel like something's supposed to happen here. And then I bumped into it way by accident. One day I just had Vincent in my party, and I go in, and then Vincent's like, Lucrezia, you're alive, and all that stuff. And then she's talking to him. You see this cut scene, and I was just like, holy crap, I didn't know this. Like, it's so cool.
Yeah, I
Wow.
know some cutscenes like are determined by who's in your party, so it does pay to have like certain people in your party in certain situations.
Yeah.
It's hard to know who exactly you need though to trigger some of these scenes.
Yeah.
I guess that was one way they could kind of like convince you to replay it and stuff to try to do different things with different party members
I wouldn't say replay it. I would say just like exploring the world.
Yeah.
with a different group of people. Yeah.
because there's no new game plus or anything. Once you beat the game, the whole world is open to you, and you can just go around and discover. Some things are missable, but most important things are like not missable.
Oh, cool. So yeah, it's like you have the overall story, and then each character has their own stories,
Yeah.
and then at the end it all comes together again.
So like one of the stories of this game, like going to the theme of it, is life and death. Kind of real quick, going back to the past, is that Final Fantasy VII, the whole drawing board, like if you look this up, was supposed to have like a whole different story, but then Yoshinori Kitase, his mother passed away during the development of Final Fantasy VII,
Oh.
and it was apparently supposed to be a little bit darker, and he was like grieving, and he wanted the game to be a little bit more uplifting, so he still wanted it to be dark. So then they decided to do this whole life and death thing, and how death isn't necessarily permanent kind of thing. The whole theme, like every single character battles with life and death, loss and identity. The two characters that don't deal with death per se is Yuffie and Cid. Technically, Yuffie, her people, the Wutai, they were in war with Shinra, and so there's some loss there, but she never loses anybody close to her. Like her dad's still alive. There's no mention about her mom, but there's like this identity crisis Yuffie battles because Wutai's turned into like this tourist attraction, and like she's like, where's our honor and stuff like that. Cid, he doesn't lose anybody, but he almost killed his wife. So like he's the rocket man in the town, and he was going to be the first man in space, and he was so excited, everybody was pumped, and he was in the rocket, and they were doing the whole countdown. And then somebody in the intercom tells him, it's like, hey, Cid, we get reports that there's somebody still in the engine room. And he's like, yo, in the intercom, he's like, yo, who the fuck is in there? And then his wife goes like, oh, it's me. I'm just working on the oxygen tank and all that stuff. And he's like, if we take off, that room is going to be hot. You will die. And then she's all like, it's all good. Like, this is for your dream and all that stuff. Like, she's like the coolest woman ever. Like, but like, I feel so bad for her. She's all like, I don't mind. Like, I wanna help your dream. And he's like, you want to make me a murderer? So he like in the last moment he aborts the rocket. So you see this cutscene where the rocket like takes off, a couple of feet in the air, but then the engine shuts off and the rocket goes back down, and then it starts to tilt. And so he aborted his dream to save his wife. And then after that, he just starts resenting her. Like, he cusses at her and all that stuff.
No.
But, like, she's, like, taking it because she's like, I killed his dream. So that was the death of his
What
dream.
the heck?
Is it his wife? I wasn't under the impression that they weren't married.
It is his wife. You don't really find out in the game. You find out, like, through lore afterwards, like, it's his wife.
Oh, he just said they weren't married.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, like, well, I don't think they're married in the game, but then they get married later. Like,
okay.
next in the movie, they get married. Because, yeah, like, there was like, oh, your wife. And he's like, wife, haha, don't be silly or something like
Yeah.
that. So
That's what I remember from the game. He's
Yeah.
like,
But it is his wife, like, now, I guess.
okay.
So do you guys want to talk about like the end of the game, the ending,
Sure,
like
yeah.
when
I
they
mean,
all come back together?
yeah, I mean, the end of the game is actually one of the most straightforward parts. I mean, yeah.
You say that. I'm hesitant to believe you.
I mean, they...
Straightforward.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so...
Okay, well, tell me. Let me be the judge.
So Sephiroth is like summoning meteor or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so Shinra is like one of the last things they do is they built this giant like cannon to like break his little force field. So yeah, then that allows the party to go in there and like fight and kill Genova and Sephiroth. Once he's dead, like then Aerith's spell can happen, which is holy, which protects the planet from the meteor. And that's pretty much the game.
Oh,
Yeah, because in the end, like, it's almost like a team up. So in the beginning of the game, it's Cloud and Party versus Shinra. Mm-hmm. Then, still in the beginning of the game, you find out Sephiroth is versus Shinra. And then not too far after that, it becomes Cloud and Party versus Shinra versus Sephiroth. And Sephiroth
it's like a
versus-
triangle.
It's
They're
a
all
triangle.
like they want to
Yeah.
attack each other.
Yeah, and then where he just described, like with the cannon, now in that point, it's Cloud and Party and Shinra versus Sephiroth.
Oh, so they
And
team up.
So they kind of team up, kind of.
Kind of.
Oh, well.
They're not necessarily trying to work together. It
Yeah,
just happens to
They
work
just
out.
have a common enemy.
They have a common enemy.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, they have a common enemy, so they kind of team up.
I mean, it makes sense because, Sephiroth's literally trying to like destroy the entire planet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really, Cloud and Party needed them because Shinra uses a cannon to break down this powerful force field that Sephiroth was protecting himself with. And because of that, then they needed to take down Hojo because Hojo was about to give Sephiroth more energy. So then they stop him.
Yeah.
And then they go and fight Sephiroth.
Can't forget about Hojo.
Can't forget about him. That douche.
Yeah, Hojo is pretty much just a bastard through the entire game.
Yep.
I would just say this game, the story, it's cray.
Yeah.
It's epic.
Well, what's nuts
It's-
about all of
But
that...
apparently that's all JRPGs from what you were telling me. That's like one of the qualifications
Yep.
is like
Yeah,
it
they
has
tend
to
to-
be an epic
They
story.
tend to be epic stories for sure.
Yes.
And I
The
will
hero's
say that
journey.
we went through all of that without even mentioning like the big giant spoiler that like Aerith dies.
Yeah, I know. All right. So real quick, mentioning her, Eris or Aerith?
I say Aerith.
I say Aerith too. Like I did say Eris because like when I playing as a kid, it says Eris for North America, so I was just like, it's Eris. And then it wasn't until the movie Advent Children came out that the credits, and I noticed it, like they don't mention her name throughout the movie, but in the credits it says Aerith, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
And so I remember it was a discussion me and my friends talked about, and somebody with internet was all like, no, apparently it's supposed to be Aerith, but they pronounce it in Japanese Eris, but it's Aerith. It's spelled Aerith, and I was like,
Oh.
that's confusing.
That makes it even more confusing.
Yeah.
But now it is canon. It is Aerith. Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. That's good.
Some people just say Eris rolls off the tongue better, but I'm used to saying Aerith now.
I feel like you can't really be wrong. It's like Mako or Mako.
Yeah. So yeah, with the death scene, how did you guys feel about that?
Yeah, it's super sad. Like it still makes me sad.
Aw.
I feel like one of the reasons her death is sadder than, other deaths of characters in other games is because she's part of your party, and you're like leveling her up and like giving her items and making her like, strong and stuff. And then all of a sudden she just, very suddenly dies in the middle of the game.
Yeah. The first time I played it, like, so as a kid, I don't know if you were ever like this, if I had a healer, I was like, screw the healer. I want to hit hard and all that stuff. Like, I got potions for that. I don't need somebody casting cure. Like, screw that.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I never leveled her up. And then what's funny is, like, you haven't made it to this point in the game. Like, there's a point where you have to use her. Like,
yeah.
Because it's her last moment, and so you have to use her. And I was so screwed because she was so underleveled. She had her first limit break, and I was like, fuck. And so I hated her. But her death made me feel guilty because I remember her being so underleveled and being forced to use her. I was like, listen, I'll level you up later. After this, I'll level you up later. And then she dies, and I was like,
oh,
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
lesson to be learned.
Funny story. Like, I was talking to my brother when he was playing through the game, and he mentioned the fact that he had, like, you know, Aerith like way leveled up and stuff. I'm like, maybe you shouldn't do that.
I tried to keep everyone pretty equally leveled up.
Yeah, I usually,
because I noticed, because it's not only that one time where they kind of force you to use certain people. So, like,
yeah, it's kind of
it's a good idea to have everyone sort of similar.
No, that's a good idea. I do it random. I know the game so well that it's hard to play it now to the point where, like, I can't go in it blind. I know what scenes are coming up and what characters I'm about to use, so then I'll switch my parties accordingly. So with Aerith, I keep her in my party throughout the whole time until her death, and then after that, then I switch around. But it's always Cloud, Aerith, and one other person.
So when does she die? Is it at the end, or is it like right before the end? Or
it's in the middle of the game.
Oh, in the middle?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's like right almost dead center in the middle of the game.
Oh.
Yeah, so like now with it being on the Switch and like PS4 and all that stuff, you don't have to switch disc anymore. But they still have like this cutoff where it's like, this is the end of... So technically there's 3 chapters. Mm-hmm. She dies at the end of chapter 1.
Gotcha.
And
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Wow.
And there's still...
And why does she die again?
She goes to basically do the prayer for Holy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then Sephiroth tries to have Cloud kill her, and then Cloud manages to resist. That's a hard scene.
Can we talk about that scene?
Yeah. He resists?
All right,
Yeah.
so I don't know if you, watching him play, did you see this scene?
I
No?
did not. So,
All right, man,
set the scene.
Let me paint this picture. Holy crap. Okay, again, I was like, I want to say I was maybe in the 6th grade when I first played this. Mm-hmm. Holy shit, this was a dark freaking scene. It was a dark game for sure, like, for me to play it in the 6th grade or something. So after the whole mandatory part where you have to use Aerith and you failed. Okay, first off, here's a this has nothing to do with it, this is pretty dark. After Cloud is being manipulated by Sephiroth and he gives her the black materia, Aerith tries to stop him, and then Cloud like pushes her off him, and then he starts wailing on her. And she starts beating him.
Oh, no.
Oh my god, it's so dark, and so like it was pretty brutal.
So you're like beating your friend up.
Yeah, you're just because he can't control himself. He's just like beating her up.
That's scary.
Later, he passes out, and then she talks to him in his dream, and she's like, "Hey, I'm gonna go stop Sephiroth. Like, don't follow me. I got this. Like, you know, it was nice meeting you." She's saying her goodbyes, and then Cloud's like, "No, wait, we're gonna do this together." Later, you find out where she's at, and she's on this altar, and then you're with your party, and you approach, and then Cloud goes like to his 2 party members, "Stay back. Like, I'm gonna do this." So he goes up to her, and then you get this weird vibe that like he's not all there. Maybe he's being manipulated again. He's like shaking his head no.
Uh-oh.
You go and you're clicking like the X button or whatever to interact, and the first X button, he positions himself right in front of her. The next X button, he pulls out his sword. And then you're just like, what? And you're trying to move, and you can't move, and you're just
you can kind of like make him budge.
Yeah, so his feet is planted, and he's doing this little thing, so side to side. You're just like, you're freaking out, and then every time you're pressing the X button, at one point he goes like this. He's holding the Buster sword like
God,
this.
you're like, no,
and you're
no,
just like,
don't do
I
it.
can't do anything, and you're not wanting to, and you're getting the feeling like, I'm not doing this, I'm being manipulated. So it drives the helplessness home. And then the final X button, he like legit goes like about to swing, and then your party members go like, yo, stop. And then he stops. But he was about to.
Yeah.
And then after that, Sephiroth comes from the top, the infamous cutscene of all video game history, and Sephiroth just impales
That's kind
Aerith.
of cool though that they make you as the player like
Feel
feel
that.
what the
Yeah.
character is feeling.
So like you get the feeling as a kid, you get the feeling like, holy crap, I'm about to kill Aerith, like she's about to die. And then the moment Cloud snaps out of it, you kind of get a little second of, all right, good, she's not going to die.
It's like-
Aerith.
Like crisis averted. Nope.
Yeah, and then it's like psych, stab.
Yeah, and then you're just like, what Phoenix down now? Like,
I don't know. When I was playing through too, I'm like, I still remember like finding her limit break and being like, okay, maybe they bring her back somehow.
no, my first playthrough throughout,
Yeah.
I was like, no, like she's
Yeah,
not
they can't just kill her off. You were leveling her up,
Yeah. And then you remember the scene with Bugenhagen in that water crystal in the City of the Ancients.
Yeah.
I was thinking that's gonna be it. We're gonna bring her back this way. This looks like a holy place.
Yeah.
This is where she's gonna make a comeback. I went through the whole game.
Oh, you were so optimistic.
I really was. I finished the game thinking like we're gonna save her. And
Yeah.
then when I beat the game for the first time, I was like, so here's my mindset. I did not unlock Vincent or Yuffie,
Yeah.
and Aerith was still dead. So I thought to myself, I was in denial. I was like, I did something wrong. There's something wrong. So later, I discovered how to get Vincent and Yuffie, and I'm like, all right, cool. Now there's a way to get Aerith back. And so I'm trying.
You're still so optimistic.
And I honestly don't remember when I finally accepted it that she's dead, but I'll be honest, for a while I was like, there's a way to bring her back. There's a way to bring her
Yeah,
back.
I was thinking like I didn't realize you could get her limit break like before she died or anything. So
Yeah.
it's like you find it like, oh, okay, yeah.
I'm making a point
Maybe
now.
maybe there's hope.
That's funny.
I know. I make it a point now. Every single time I play it, like, nope, I gotta unlock all her limit breaks before she dies and all that jazz. Man, but yeah, and what was funny is because like it was such a ballsy move, like taking a step back in video games in general.
Yeah, I mean games didn't do that back then.
no. And
Oh,
the
yeah.
old-
Did they just always have like a happy ending? Well,
Well, they didn't kill off your main playable characters.
yeah.
Ooh.
I
So-
mean, this wasn't like an NPC. This wasn't just like some random girlfriend or
Yeah,
wife.
this,
or-
yeah, this is someone in your
Yeah.
party.
Because like the first like big character, or not big characters, but the first characters that kind of have some relevance that you lose in Final Fantasy VII was Big, Jesse, and Wedge, Barrett's Avalanche buddies.
Yeah, that's pretty
And-
sad too.
Yeah, that was.
But
Oh,
not
yeah, I
not
almost
nearly
forgot
as
about
sad
them.
because they're not playable characters.
Exactly.
So it doesn't really hit you as hard. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, that sucks. But yeah.
But you feel that Barrett, his loss, so you know that okay, this game has death.
Yeah.
Like, this game isn't going to shy away from it. And then President Shinra dies, and you're just like, yeah, this game has death.
Yeah.
You're not thinking like that. Like
I
you're
thought
playing
that,
for-
I thought it was really cool how it killed him off because at the same you're thinking, okay, this is like the main enemy of the game, and then all of a sudden, like he's dead with a sword in his back,
yeah.
and yeah, it's like, oh shit, where's this going?
See, and man, I love that scene so much when President Shinra dies because the sword on the back. And I remember looking at the booklet, like, oh, that's Sephiroth. This is the dude with the long sword. That's him. He's a
Yeah.
playable character and all that stuff. Maybe he's like this rogue dude. And then Barrett was confused. He felt like us. He was like, so this Sephiroth is good because he killed one of our mutual enemies.
Yeah.
And then Cloud is the one that like drives the point. He's like, Sephiroth? Good? No way. And then you're sitting there confused, like, wait, you wanted to be like Sephiroth. Wait, what's going
Yeah.
on? And so, like, there was just so much mystery around Sephiroth that, like, I was like, is he good? Is he bad?
Yeah, it turns out bad.
Overall bad.
Extremely bad.
All right, should we move on from story stuff?
Oh, well, real quick,
Okay.
what I wanted to mention about Aerith's death, last thing was, I don't know if you ever played the game Legend of Dragoon, but, like, that game did death not a good justice because they killed off, like, one of your characters, a main character, but they replaced that character with another character with the exact same stats and stuff. They just wanted to,
Oh yeah, that seems
Yeah, that's not the
pointless.
same.
That's not the same. So and I played Legend of Dragoon first before I played Final Fantasy VII, so it drive the whole denial home. Yeah, that's all I wanted
Just
to say. about
extra.
that.
Yeah.
Just extra denial.
All right, yeah, let's talk about our pros and cons. I feel like
Okay.
I want to hear what Nicky has good to say about the game.
Oh, okay. I'll go first.
Yeah.
So I think the fighting in this game is really fun. Like, you have so many different options of attacking with physical brute or magic, or you can like summon these like beings. I think the like limit break situation is really fun. And I don't know, I like that you have all these different characters in your party and you can switch them out, and like you can have them all have different sets of skills, and you can also change out their skills whenever you want. It's not like once you assign the skill to this player, that's their skill forever. Like you can take it off and switch it out and like just change it up.
Yeah, I've always loved how much customization is in this game, where it's like the magic and skill are separate from the people and they level up on their own. And then you can put those, and you can basically build your own classes, you know. You're not like defined by, okay, this is my black mage or my white mage or red mage or whatever. Like I can pretty much make everyone a red mage.
Yeah, if you want to. If you think that's the best.
Usually, and that's usually what I end up doing.
But yeah, it's just like there's so many different options within the fight. I think it's pretty cool. And like the actual fighting part is kind of like a turn-based strategy game, right?
Yeah.
I know that now.
Bit, yeah.
Because of games Eric plays. Because, you have to take turns, like, doing the moves for all the different characters.
Yeah, but also, there's also that element of real time going in.
Yeah.
Like, because, it's...
Oh, that's true.
If you don't do anything, they're just going to keep, like, attacking you. And you're like, okay, I gotta have my, like, moves quick.
I love...
Yeah, good point.
I love the fact that you can switch it at any point in the game. So there's no difficulty settings, obviously. But, like, if you want the game to be a little bit more challenging, you can set, like, the ATB, like, your enemies to attack no matter what. Like, they won't wait for you, or you can have them wait and all that stuff. So I really like that.
Where's that
cool.
at?
It's in the settings.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, one of the options.
I didn't realize. It's probably, I was like, this is hard enough.
You can make it a little bit easier.
I don't need to make it harder.
It doesn't break the game.
Yeah, that and the speed, the battle speed too, which is always nice. You can make that quicker. What about you, Dom?
I'll make it short just because, like, I can really go on and on about the game and stuff.
Yeah, obviously you picked this game, so like you're gonna have a lot of pros.
Oh man, one of the pros is that there's so much end game stuff, and I think in a way a lot of games nowadays they suffer from that. It's like there's not really that much to do after you beat like the final dude. It's like, what else is there? What I love about this one is that they have these 2 super bosses. They're extremely tough. So that's one thing I like about it. Another one of my favorites, like I mentioned, is like there's just so many hidden things throughout the world, like finding everybody's ultimate weapon, their limit breaks, hidden cutscenes. Oh man, there's just so many that like nowadays people will put into a DLC and it's not a mystery anymore. I love the characters, man, because the characters they weren't far-fetched. They were flawed, and you're going to relate to somebody within the game.
Yeah.
Me personally, I didn't relate with Cloud, and I didn't relate with Vincent, but I related more with Sid because, like, with his dream, like, I think Sid is the most relatable person in the party, where everybody has these dreams, everybody has these goals, and then one day life hits you, meaning, like, about to kill his wife, and one day, like me in general, where it's like, oh man, I have this dream, but like I have to be an adult. I have to make this decision, and I might have to say like bye to that dream or put it on hold. And oh man, like I love him. And then what drives Sid home to me, and he's like one of my favorite characters, is that when you recruit Sid, at first he's like, I'm just here for the ride, like whatever. Like he's just this casual guy. But then he gets recruited as the leader of the party.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. And you guys go to space for a little bit. And he's...
Yeah, I saw you play that part.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's just like so mesmerized. He's like, well, I'm in space, holy crap. And then when
it's like, finally.
Right? And then when he comes back home, he has this really big speech where he's like, listen, I honestly didn't care at first, but now I realize that the planet is like this baby. It's a kid and it's scared, and this disease, Sephiroth, and we got to take care of it.
Oh.
Now Sid is like taking this responsibility, and he has like this awesome character development that I actually like more than Cloud's, more than anybody. he went from this dude who's a badass, who's not serious, he was that cool guy, to the, no, we got to do something about this.
Yeah.
And I related more with that. And so
Yeah.
Sid's my favorite, so he's awesome.
Yeah, I like the variety of characters in your group because you've got like guys, you've got girls, you've got animals, you know.
Red 13.
Yeah. What's the like cat's name?
Kate Sith.
Kate Sith.
Fun fact.
Y'all should have told me very early on that I could get a cat in my party because like that's how you motivate me. Okay.
I want to put this out there just in case for anybody listening, and I want to piss off some fans. So yeah, his name for the longest time it's pronounced Kate Sid. What if I told you his name is actually pronounced Cat She?
What? No.
So to make this short, his character is from a Scotland folklore, pronounced Cat She. He's based off that. He's Gaelic. Later, when he has a voice acting, they give him a Scottish accent, and and the name Kate Sith is actually pronounced Cat She. I don't say Cat She. I don't say it, but like it pisses off some fans. So I wanted to put that out.
Oh my
there.
gosh,
Wow.
that's so funny.
I literally discovered this like maybe a year ago.
Catchy. Huh?
Yeah,
I definitely called him Dr. Doom because like
Yeah.
he's a tuxedo kitty. I'm like, I call him Dr. Doom.
I'm gonna save him for my cons.
Oh,
Most of my cons center around him.
I'm looking forward
another
to
thing that I like is the materia system, and I don't know,
yes.
is that like exclusive to Final Fantasy VII, or is that
Yeah.
in all the Final
No, it's
Fantasy
exclusive
games?
to Final Fantasy VII. All the battle systems on all the Final Fantasy games are
Okay.
totally different.
Okay. Because you said the story wasn't connected, but I didn't know if like stuff like that would still be the same.
So like the battle mechanics between 1, 2, and 3 are mostly the same. 4 is a little bit different. I don't remember 5 that much. 6 is a little similar to 4, but it's still different. 7, that's where it started being like really, really different, except from the rest. And then they don't really repeat unless
Yeah.
it's in the same universe.
And
Okay.
then 8 goes in a different direction. 9, yeah, and
Okay, cool.
they all start going in different
They all
directions.
do their own different things.
Well, I
Yeah.
think the materia system is cool because it's like you kind of unlock or find all these different materias as you play the game.
Mm-hmm.
And if you miss if you miss a really good one, then you may not even know that you missed it unless
Yeah.
you're playing with someone that's sitting there next
Yeah,
to you
you're
and you're
just
like,
like,
you don't
"Oh,
have this materia
yeah."
yet. It's like, how would I know? But I think it's cool because like once you get into the game and like where I'm at, you have like so much to choose from, and you can just kind of like play around. And I'm sure like DJ, I'm sure you like, since you played the game so many times, you know like which materia is gonna be best for like this boss fight and stuff like that.
Well, yes, and I'm gonna save that for my cons later, just because.
Okay.
But I'm with you like 99%. Like the material system is awesome. Like Eric was
Yeah,
mentioning
I love
earlier, that you can make Cloud into the black mage or the white mage. You can
Mm-hmm.
make
Yeah.
you can make characters whatever you want to. I think that's awesome. It adds a whole new level of strategy that I didn't know you could do in a game, and it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, and like at first I
and there's
didn't
cool
even
combos. Yeah.
At first, I didn't even realize you could assign the materia because I'm not. I was just like, I want to get through this game. But yeah, like, thanks, Eric. He was like, oh, yeah, you got to assign these things. And I'm like, what? And then I, like, actually went around and I played, like, I went into the menu and I was playing around with all the things that I probably should have already been playing around with, like the items and like
Yeah.
equipping things and like
Yeah.
just stuff like that I probably should have already been like playing around
Yeah,
in.
like,
but like I don't know, it's pretty fun like just to have so many different options and stuff.
Yeah.
So I'll quickly say this with my pros is that the blue materials are like the added effect materials. Those make the game even more fun because like you can equip the blue materials with like the yellow, the green, the reds, and it does a cool combos and stuff. Like one of my favorite ones is like this counter materia, and you can equip it with like to slash back. So every time an enemy hits you, you counter attack so you don't waste a turn.
Oh, that's
or
cool.
Every
Yeah.
time an enemy hits you, you go ahead and heal the party. Every time you get hit, you go ahead and summon. And oh man, it adds these awesome layer of combos, and that it can make the game broken. And if you know what you're doing, it's really cool.
Yeah, it's really fun. I know we talked to death about the story, but I'll say, like, when I was a kid growing up, we didn't really have stories like this in video games that had, you know, cursing and crime references and prostitution references and, like, you know, one of your main characters dying. Like, I don't know. I just thought that was so cool when I was a kid to have that in a story.
Felt like you're being a little naughty.
The cross-dressing
No,
scene.
just like it didn't. The game wasn't talking down to me. It wasn't
Yes.
like.
Oh, okay.
It
Treated
was,
you like an adult.
Yeah, it was treating me like, okay, here's a more mature story, you know, and we recognize that people who play video games would still want like a more mature story.
Well, I
That's a
mean,
good point. I
but
never
this
thought
game wasn't for kids, though, right? It was for like probably teens.
Yeah,
right?
it was rated T for teens.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
kind of piggybacking off that, like rated T games, like for example Tekken, where you're playing like this fighting game and you know like it's a violent game because it's fighting. Mm-hmm. But then that was it. It was just fighting. But
Okay,
like
it's rated T just basically for violence and not anything else.
But this one had alcohol, drugs, prostitution. It was like a really mature world. And at the time, it felt like it wasn't holding any punches. Like this is it. Like,
yeah.
And I'm glad you brought that up because one of the things here is it got cut from the game, but one of the writers wanted to put Cloud and Tifa definitely had sex. So do you remember the scene where Cloud finally joins the party and then he tells everybody like, hey, find your motivation to fight?
Yeah, right before you go into the final area.
Yeah, so everybody leaves and does some soul searching, and then Cloud and Tifa are all alone and they have the high wind, the airship. And originally somebody wrote into the they actually wrote the code in, but it just didn't get in, where at the end Cloud and Tifa leave the chocobo room in the airship, and Tifa says some dialogue like, do you think anybody saw? And all that stuff. And they were going to make it like known, like them two just got it on.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
So, but yeah, and then somebody, I think the director was like, all right, that's a little too far.
There was like a scene that I just did where I think it's like when you go to that desert prison or whatever.
Yeah.
You can walk into all these different little houses in that area. It's like maybe not at that specific area, but around that time. But you walk into this one house and there's definitely someone taking a shower.
Oh.
And it's designed to where you know they're naked taking a shower, but you really can't see anything. But I was just like, trying to just get some nudity in there, you know?
Oh man, it kind of reminds me in Midgar where somebody's on the toilet and you can open the door and they're constipated.
Dude, and then you have to go get the medicine in order to like do all this stuff. Like that city in particular, I did think it was kind of annoying, but it was kind of cool that you had a mission and like every location within that little city had its part in the mission.
Yeah.
And which at first I was like, is there an apparel store? Why is there like a restaurant? But it's like when you got to the the brothel place, the super scary place, is like, oh, okay, well you have to go here to get this, to go here and get this, and it's like all connected.
And everything
like,
served a purpose.
Yeah. I like that.
It was a fetch mission.
Mm-hmm.
Real quick, who did Don Corneo pick on your guys' play? Especially for you, like who? Since you played it for the first time.
So I think they picked. So it's you,
Aerith,
Tifa. I think Aerith for me.
Oh, nice, nice.
Cloud.
You got Cloud.
Yeah, I got all the extra items, and I wasn't sure which fabric. I guessed right. I guess I think it's one specific fabric type or
silk. Yeah.
Yeah, you have a couple choices you have to get right, but if you and I did choose to kiss Don Corneo.
Oh no!
So the party members broke in. They're like, "What? You were gonna kiss him?"
Eric, that guy was scary.
Yeah.
No, oh my god, I did not like him.
If you play Yuffie's side quest, he comes back again.
No.
And this one's even more creepy because he's about to rape a 15-year-old girl.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's about to rape you in the very beginning. Like that was like the beginning for me of like, here's your intro to this game.
Yeah.
Better be fearful of this happening. I'm like, holy crap, what the hell?
That's what we were saying, that it was a very mature game. Like it felt like it didn't hold any punches.
Yeah, absolutely. And my last pro I want to mention is the music. I absolutely love the music in this game.
Yes, absolutely.
I took my version of One Winged Angel for the rap beat. I'm proud of that, even though I ended up cutting more than I'd like to from that song. It was actually kind of hard to make a rap beat for this, just because all the songs are more like orchestral and they don't really have like looping things in them.
Oh yeah, true.
Yeah. I'm not a music guy like that, but even I know, but the music in this game. But no, you did a great job of that beat, though, for sure.
Yeah.
I just wish I could have made a better rap.
That's great, man.
But your rap was dope. Your guys' rap were dope. I've played a lot of games where you get to the final boss, and yeah, there's this epic soundtrack, but like it was whatever. But Sephiroth was both cool and frightening at the same time. I was like, this guy's gonna murk me. And he did.
He does look really cool at the end.
Yeah.
My last pro is like, I guess what you guys already talked about, and I think this is probably like everyone's pro, at least when it came out, is that there's just so much stuff to do.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like open world, and you have like mini games, and there's like,
Yeah, you go into the
It's not
casino
just
and you have all this
fighting.
stuff to do, and you can really keep yourself busy with some of these mini games, like just the arena and the golden saucer and stuff like that.
Chocobo racing.
yeah,
can go to
there's
hell.
just a lot of different things you can do. It's not just fighting game.
Yeah, it gives you a nice break from just the routine of going into the battle system and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really like how they did that.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, should we go on to cons?
Yeah. I have a lot of them.
Here, I'll go first if you don't mind. Like,
Okay.
mine's short. So I got two main cons. One of them being, now, I say this just as like, I like to think of myself as a pro player of this, is that you can get overpowered really, really fast, and then you can break the game. Like, I'll admit, it's not open out there, and it's not about grinding. It's about getting like the right items at the right time and stuff.
Yeah, the right combinations.
Yeah, so I don't know if you know this, the ultimate summon, Knights of the Round. Have you heard of it?
Yeah, you have to get the black chocobo.
The gold
though.
chocobo.
And you have to breed a certain chocobo to get over to an area.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's this summon called Knights of the Round, like Knights of the Round Table. Mm-hmm. And it costs 250 MP. I know this like by heart. It does 13 attacks. It's like a minute long thing.
Yeah.
And it does 13 separate attacks. It's super broken, but it's hidden. There's like hints in the game, but it's like you got to be looking for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to work really hard to get it.
And you got to work really hard to get it. There is a kind of a cheat just to speed up the process, but like it's whatever. But again, it's well hidden in the game, but you can figure it out. And
if you get that early on, you're just kind of too powerful.
Like you're just gonna murking everything. So that by itself it's a little bit. And then
I never would have thought about that as being a con.
Oh no!
I would be like, yes, I am powerful and I'm beating everyone. This is the best thing ever.
Well, you can't beat the super bosses, so they made it fair. Like you think like, oh, I can take on the super bosses. They're like,
that's what's
no,
nuts.
we want you.
That's what's nuts is you can get your like characters like all the way leveled up as much as they can. You can get this like awesome move, and you fight these super bosses, and they still fucking one shot you.
Oh man.
Yeah. Like the super bosses are like, no, we knew you were gonna get that, so we prepared for that. But it made it fair, so that's good. The second thing is kind of on the same branch, is that like you were mentioning about the enemies and like knowing what materials to use on them. So they offer things like, fire, lightning, ice, and all that stuff, but they didn't really have that many like elemental enemies to kind of mix and match. I think Final Fantasy X does it better. People shit on it saying like, oh, it's a glorified rock, paper, scissors, but I don't care. I think they do a good job of it. But Final Fantasy VII, it really just became about just pick your favorite character and just whack hard. That's it.
Yeah.
And the materials that end up being like some of the best ones were just the support materials, like the healing, the wall, setting effects and stuff like that. But things like that did damage, unless they were non-elementals, they weren't really that great. Yeah, it's a minor gripe. Like, I wish they had a little bit more uses. But no, they still have cool combos they can pull off. But that was definitely a con for me.
Yeah. So one of my cons was Kate Sith. I
Why
did not
you
like
on the
Kate Sith.
cat?
Nothing about his character makes any sense.
I feel you.
So Kate Sith is a cat that rides a Mog. He uses a megaphone to call out orders to the Mog, which is also somehow his attack weapon. Also, he's a toy that's been magically brought to life and is being controlled remotely by a spy who works for Shinra, who we never meet.
I don't know, he sounds like a super interesting character to me.
You do find out who's controlling him.
Well, yeah, you don't actually physically meet him, but you do you do talk to the person. But yeah, anyway, like at one point, Kate Sith kidnaps Barrett's daughter, Marlene, and uses her as collateral to stay in the party, even though they find out he's a spy.
What?
Yeah.
Oh,
Which
man.
is
He's
pretty
a douche.
fucked up. And literally like 2 minutes later, we get like a self-sacrifice scene where he he sacrifices his body to like get the black materia. Except then like 2 minutes later, they just send another one. So it's like, what the fuck was the point of that self-sacrifice scene?
That's kind of hilarious, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, he eventually like sees the error of his ways and like gives Marlene back, and everyone's just like, hey, yeah, whatever, you kidnapped a child, no big deal.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like you find out he's like kind of a bad guy like as you play through the game, but then he redeems himself. But I don't know, it just didn't seem like enough for me.
So like going along with that is that once you unlock the buggy, you can skip entirely the Gongaga village, where if you go there, you fight Reno and Rude, and after you beat them, Cloud goes like, they were waiting for us. Like, how did they know we were going to be here? Yo, do we have a spy?
Yeah.
And that lets you know like that you have a spy,
yeah.
and it's a little bit of a hint.
Oh, I love Cloud's response. He's like, no, I trust everybody. Like, there's literally, a cat riding a Mog who joined your group just to see your fortune. Like, you trust that guy you met at the casino.
No, there's this YouTuber, he like breaks it down. It was really funny. He was just like, all right, it's not Cloud. Barrett and Tifa are in Avalanche. They hate Shinra. Yuffie is literally in war with Shinra, and also she's an optional character, so forget her. And Aerith is being hunted by Shinra. Who else is that?
Yeah, who's left?
Yeah, and so I didn't see that. When I was a kid, I actually skipped that entirely, so I didn't know that for a while.
Yeah, I actually skipped it originally as a kid too. Yeah, I didn't even know you could go in there until later, and then I got some of that.
Yeah, so that's kind of missable, and I didn't know about that. So when my first reaction was like, "What? Like, oh, you're a spy? Like, you betrayed us, you dick!" And yeah, so I hated him for a while.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that's so funny. My major con for this game, and like this might just be me, it might just be JRPGs, all of them, I don't know, but there's just like too many characters, too many like storylines, like just so much going on that like it's kind of hard to keep everything straight, at least for me, because it's just like so much. And then it's like, I do like, that you learn stuff, and then it's like, whew, forget that. This is what the real thing is. But then it's like, if you have too much of that, it's just like, I don't know. It's just stuff starts to get a little like confusing, I guess, or unclear.
It gets really bad if you take a break.
Oh,
If you take a break for like a month and then like try to go back into a JRPG, then you're like, oh wait, like what am I supposed to do? Like, who are these characters? Like, what?
the worst game. Have you ever played Chrono Trigger?
Yeah, I'd never finished it though.
Oh man, it's a great game. Definitely one of the greats. But that one is the dictionary definition of, if you leave it for a week, unless you have a photographic memory, you're screwed.
Yeah.
Like, you're like, because it deals with time travel and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's confusing.
I've definitely done that. Like, it's not good for me to take breaks from a game, because like I might as well just start back over at the beginning, because you don't remember. Like,
Oh man, no, JRPGs were definitely the worst with that.
Yeah,
You're right.
I just remember when I finally beat Final Fantasy VIII, I had taken like a 3 or 4 year break, like just on the final boss. So by the time I got that cinematic at the end, I'm like, who are all these people? What's going on?
yeah, you should have just started over again.
I was on the final boss. Like it was a very hard final boss of Final Fantasy.
No,
okay.
yeah, Sephiroth. I was stuck on Sephiroth for like at least a year, and then I
Dang.
decided like, all right, screw this. I'm gonna explore the world. That's when I started.
I would
discovering
just legit give up. I'm not gonna I'm not going to try for a year.
Yeah, back in the
not
day,
that many games.
you didn't have that many
no,
games to play.
I don't have the patience for that.
If it was me now, for sure, like I would have quit. But as a kid, I only had like 5 games, and then I was like, nah,
man.
And a part of me doesn't.
I'm like really proud of you guys for like beating this when y'all were kids.
Thanks.
It took a while.
I don't think I could have done it. Well, yeah.
But to be thankful that I said it with 7, because like your con, oh, it would have been way worse if I had you play Final Fantasy VI. That one, I think the cast for that game is 15, and it's annoying. Like every character is like, whatever.
Yeah.
A lot of waste of space.
Yeah, I haven't played that one all the way through either.
Yeah,
Which is
it's
kind of
all right.
insane. So one of the things I didn't like even as a kid, this made me uncomfortable, were the scenes between Sid and Shira, where like, you know, he's just like bad mouthing her and stuff. And just like,
Yeah.
he just treats her so bad.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, it made me really uncomfortable back then. It still makes me really uncomfortable.
Yeah, like here I go, like, oh, he's one of my favorites. It's just because, like, to me, you're right. Like, and I'm not going to defend it, but like, if I were to, the only reason is that he has to have this dark moment and be like such a dark character for him to have like this positive character development, because later when you go back to the rocket and that tank engine explodes, he starts to have this realization. He's like, man, Shira, you were right.
Yeah.
And then when she comes back to help him, at first he's trying to be mean, but she's like helping him out, and then he's like, Shira, I'm sorry. And so I felt that. I was just like,
So he has good growth. He has good growth.
That's true. He does have character growth.
Yeah, that's why I like him so much.
Yeah.
But but I don't blame you. It was uncomfortable because that's hours in. So he's being this dick, and you're just like, oh.
Yeah.
What the crap, man?
Yeah.
Another thing for me is like, it wasn't always clear where to go on like the map. There was a map function there, but it wasn't very helpful for me. It was just like, I still don't know where I'm supposed to go.
Yeah.
So like, especially once you got to the open world part, I was just like, where the heck am I supposed to go? Like, I would just be running around like trying to find stuff, and it wasn't super obvious like what you could go into and what you couldn't. And I don't know, I just was a little frustrated sometimes. It was just like, for our version, you can turn off the random encounters. Okay. But if you couldn't do that, trying to just walk around the island and explore it, it's like you're gonna get into like 1,500 fights. It's gonna take you an hour. But like, it's just like, maybe on the map they could have at least like marked maybe where stuff was, so you could like have a general idea of like what direction to go.
That was part of the game. You know, you explore, you level up while you do it. You know.
But then why have the map there at all? I don't know.
Well, it's like, it has dots. Like, I liked it where...
Yeah, you do have dots where the cities are on the map.
Okay. So it just wasn't obvious. Like, I didn't see the dots.
There's 2 maps. Like, there's like one where it's in the corner, and then one where it's like takes up the whole screen. And I liked it just because, like, I was an explorer, so I would always go to the dots. I'm definitely the weird one out here, is that like, I like talking to NPCs. I like just keep traveling every corner of the map, trying to discover new things.
Oh yeah, that's a blast, man. I love that as a kid.
Yeah, I'm totally into that too, because like for God of War, like it has all these things, and I like really love that game. But it's like, for some reason, I don't necessarily love it in this game as much. And I don't know, it could just be because it's an old game too, and I find myself as someone who's a newer gamer, and I started out with games with really awesome graphics and stuff, to go back to these older games where it's like polygonal shapes and stuff. Like, that's another one of my cons, but it's not really the game's fault. It's just the graphics have not aged well. And you're like, that's supposed to be a hand? Like, that's like, I don't know, it's just like, what am I even looking at? Some of the scenes with the way they did the background versus like the characters, because it's like 2 different.
That was one of my frustration with the remake, is that the remake was supposed to bring in new players that cared about, you know, graphics, voice acting, which is not a bad thing, obviously. but I have problems with the remake. But yeah,
I feel like we'll talk about the remake in a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It was just like sometimes my eyes would get kind of confused and like I wouldn't even lose where I was in the scene because when it zooms out really far and your character's just this tiny little like 8 pixels, you're like, where am I? Like,
yeah.
I mean, that's nitpicky stuff. That doesn't like ruin the game or anything,
man,
but
once
it's
you unlock
just
the
like maybe
island-
they could have more contrasting
Yeah.
colors or something just to like so you didn't get lost in the
Yeah, for me, the graphics look the worst, like when they have the sprites in front of the full motion video.
Yeah.
Like when I was a kid growing up, I had this game on my computer and it really did not run well on my computer. I had a really old computer. It struggled with the graphics. So like when it would play these videos with the sprites, the sprites would always move faster than the full motion video. The full motion video would like drag along. I always thought it looked really bad. I'm like, it's probably my computer. But now that I can see it, how it's supposed to look, I'm like, yeah, it still looks really bad.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, yeah, I had my computer actually had a scene where it would crash. It wouldn't make it through the video every single time it would crash.
No.
So I had to take my save file over to my friend's
that's right. You
house
told me about this.
and play it over there, and then like get to the next save point, take it back to my house, and keep playing it.
Which friend was it?
My friend Brendan Muyo, who I kind of lost touch with, but yeah.
Was that back in Dalton?
That was back in middle school. It would have been Woodstock. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's so funny.
Do you remember what scene it
Man.
was?
Yeah, it was after the reunion. So
Okay.
it was like you had to fight this boss and you got all these like cutscenes after it. And one of the middle ones, the computer would just error out. It was like too many videos going on. And it was so frustrating because I tried that. I beat that boss so many times and it would be like, yeah, I'd get there. I'd like, okay, make it through. And it would, nope. And it'd be like,
So did you ask for a new computer after that for Christmas
No.
or anything? You're like, Mom, I need a better computer. Like,
No.
this one won't even play this cutscene.
I can't be
Like,
Sephiroth with this engine.
Yeah.
no, I had to figure it out. I had to work with what I got. So I went over to my friend's house who
Gotcha.
convinced me to buy the game in the first place. And I knew he had it on a computer. So yeah.
So once you got past that buggy part, everything was smooth.
Yeah,
on your
everything
old
worked.
computer?
But yeah, the videos never worked right on the computer. But
That's funny.
yeah.
Another thing, I don't know if this is a con necessarily, but I thought it was like they had some weird love triangle teases that were going on.
Yeah.
And it seemed like all the chicks in the group had a crush on Cloud
Yeah.
or like wanted to get with him or something. And I'm just like, if you're really trying to save your planet, like you're probably not trying to hook up with someone at this time.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you are, but I don't know. It just was like, this seems kind of out of place a little bit.
Yeah,
Well-
it was definitely out of character. So with the gold saucer scene, you go on a date with
Yeah.
Aerith. Fun fact, you can actually go on a date with, depending on how well you do with the dialogue and your relationship with these characters, you can go on a date with Tifa, Yuffie, and even Barrett.
Yeah.
I want to go on a date with Barrett.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw that. I'm like, I'm still wondering what is specific dialogue options I needed to do to get on that date with Barrett.
Oh man, I did it. Like,
Oh, yeah?
Like I have it for the PS4, and I was like, I want to platinum this game. Like I think I can. Like I'm pretty good at it. So one of the trophies was go on a date with Barrett. You just anytime a dialogue pops up with Tifa and Aerith, just be mean to them. Like 100%, you got to be mean to them. Never buy a flower from Aerith. Don't talk to Tifa at the bar and stuff like. It's like a bunch of things like that.
That's so funny.
Always have Barrett in your party. Yeah.
So you gotta suck up to Barrett
Yeah, pretty much. And then if you do,
and be mean to all the girls.
yeah, and then when you have Barrett and Red 13 in your party, and if you do have Aerith and Tifa, make sure they die.
Oh my gosh.
It's like there's these weird friendship points that you have to earn throughout the game that doesn't tell you about. It's hidden. You get so happy when you hear that knock, and then it's Barrett. And you're just like, yeah, all right.
So what do you do on the date? Do you just sit down at a table and like eat some dinner or something?
Oh,
or-
you go on like the gondola ride on at the
Gold saucer.
gold
Oh,
saucer or
cool.
whatever. So yeah, it's like yeah.
Sounds romantic.
And then you guys have like these funny dialogues.
Oh yeah,
like,
the play. Yeah, you go in a play together or whatever.
well, with Barrett, you don't. Like,
what?
what's so funny is like you go to the play, and then the guy goes like, "Hey, you're you're our 100th couple. Oh, wait, no, it's two guys. For couples only.
That's messed up.
So it's a little homophobia.
Oh, yeah.
Oh man, it's so funny. The guy goes like, "Oh no, it's for couples only." And then you go on the gondola. There's no romance or anything, but like it gets weird because Barrett goes like, "Hey Cloud, who do you like? Tifa, Aerith? It better not be Marlene." And Marlene's like a 5-year-old girl. And
Yeah, it better not be.
Whoa.
yeah, so it's weird. And what's even weirder is Yuffie is about 15 years old. You can go on a date with her, and this is where it's a little creepy. At one point, she gets up and she kisses Cloud on the cheek, and then she goes like, "I just felt like doing that," and it's just like, no.
Ew, no. Like, not cool. Yeah, some things definitely did not age
Yeah.
from the 90s that well. But hey, at least I like to think of it this way. At least we're looking back and we're pointing out that those things are not cool.
Yeah.
As it means we've gotten past that, and like you couldn't do that now in a
yeah.
game. People
Yeah.
would like cancel you.
I hope in the remake it lets you go on a date with Barrett.
You get to
Yeah, it
choose.
should acknowledge you guys as a couple too.
Yeah. Or yeah, you get to go on the play with Barrett.
Yeah. Other than that, I don't really have any other cons. Do you, Eric?
Nah.
Do we want to talk about strategy?
We could go into a lot of details, so maybe we could just like kind of brush over
Yeah,
strategy
let's keep
a
it
little bit.
short. I won't
Yeah.
say much because all mine is like common sense, like level up all your party members,
Yeah.
talk to everybody. But like, I'll let you guys do some more of the advanced strategies if you want to.
Mine are pretty much in the same vein. Like, take the time to explore.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, mine is just pay attention to weapons growth. Like, so your weapons, it says normal, double, triple,
Yeah.
or nothing. Do pay attention to that. Equip your
Okay.
materials accordingly. There's these materials slots where it's just 2 circles and they're by themselves. They don't have a line. But if they have a line connecting to the other circle, that means you can combine those materials, kind of.
Okay.
So try to pay attention to that.
Yeah. So like, if you have restore, you can put an all
An
next
all,
to
yeah.
it, and then
Yeah.
like it's like the first time you use it, right? But it's only the
Well,
first
it's-
time, right?
no,
that it'll
it's the
heal
amount-
everybody.
It's the amount of levels all has on it. So yeah,
Oh,
depending on
okay.
how leveled up all is,
Oh, cool.
So
you can use it more.
Okay.
Yeah, all max level is 5. So whatever material you equip there, you can use up to 5 times for everybody. And that one I'll touch on real quick is pay attention to that, level that up, never not level that up. Because eventually, when you master a materia, you give birth to a new materia of that same one. So once all reaches master, which is 5 levels, you'll keep that materia, but then you'll get another all, so it duplicates, and you can start all over.
Oh, cool.
If you sell that materia that's mastered, it's worth 1.4 million gil.
Yeah,
And
it's
so
nuts.
like you can
Whoa.
do some cool money farming, but eventually money becomes irrelevant in the game. But like it's still a neat little trick. So whenever a materia masters, go ahead and swap it out if you want to. Some materials are worth keeping in the slot if it's mastered. Some aren't. So like just keep swapping it out
Yeah.
Yeah.
and all that. But yeah, that's
I never sold any of my stuff. Should I be doing that?
I'm actually glad you brought that up. When it comes to weapons, yes, except for 2 types of weapons. There's one where the materia growth is double and triple. Don't sell those. Those are good. Those are good for farming and leveling up your materials faster. And obviously don't sell your ultimate weapons. And then when it comes to armor, don't sell the ones that have the double growth, but you can sell almost everything else early game. But then late games, you start to get like really cool armor, one that absorbs elemental
Oh
attacks.
yeah, those are great.
Those are good. Some that double growth materia, and then some that don't have materia slots, but they buff you up. Like there's one, it's like, I don't know how to pronounce it. It starts with a Z. It has no materia slots, but it halves all elemental damages. So
Whoa,
it's really,
yeah.
really good. It's really powerful.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's about it in strategy.
So future stuff. So yeah, Square Enix is currently in the process of remaking Final Fantasy VII and is releasing them as 3 separate games. Part 1 was released in 2020 and covered mostly just the Midgar part of the story. Part 2 is scheduled to be released December of next year. Which, yeah, so what do you think about the remakes and their approach to doing it?
At first, I was like on the fence because I've waited for so many years. I'm a huge fan. And the moment it got released that it was going to be episodic, I was a little iffy. I was just like, I don't know, because I could see it in two ways real quick. I could see it episodic, but like the first game is going to take the longest to make. But once you make that engine and all that, like everything else is going to come out faster.
Yeah.
But that is kind of proven to be a little false.
It does seem like
so. I fear, but I no longer care at the end. The whole point was to bring both old fans and new fans together alike to play the like newer games like yourself, Nicky, where it's like, you know, I do care about graphics and stuff. Like some games didn't age well, and I don't blame them. We were supposed to like now enjoy it. It's like, oh man, you heard me talk about Final Fantasy VII so many times and how awesome it is. Now you get to play it. But I fear that people are going to lose motivation because it's like, okay, I played part 1 and now you have to wait for like 3 or 4 years for part 2. You almost kind of forget what happened in part 1. And not only that, you're more likely, because now games comes out really quickly, you're more likely not going to replay the first one, go through like 60 hours of replay the first game just to understand the second game. So I fear that. And also, I know this. I'm going to make a prediction right now. Once all parts are out, I do not doubt that in a couple of years after the third part releases, they're going to release a master thing where all the games...
I mean, that's what I would just wait for, so I could just play them all in a row.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's like already
it's like a 200-hour game.
The first one, the part 1 is already like a 60-hour game. You have like Final Fantasy VII is already a very long game, and now you're freaking making it like so many
even
hours.
Longer.
And so that's definitely my biggest fear. And then like the last rant I'll say is that Tetsuya Nomura, hate that guy, because he was in the original Final Fantasy VII team, but he was the character and battle scenario. He was in charge of that. He was a part of that team. Now he's directing the remake, and I don't know if you guys ever played Kingdom Hearts, but he made Kingdom Hearts, and I don't care what anybody says, that game is trash. Like, gameplay was fun, but the story is trash. And now he decided to convolute things in this new 7, so now old fans are... There's like these new story things that he changed that aren't small things, it's big things. Not going all into that, like I fear that, well, not really fear because it already happened, is that it's a watered down version of the original game, even though it's just for the first part of Midgar. Like, for example, we talked about how mature the game was, you know, at the time. Like, the sword in the president's back and the blood trail of Genova and all that stuff. So in the remake, it's like little things like this, is that the president doesn't die that way. I actually forgot how he dies, but it's not the sword on the back, and the blood trail got replaced with purple plasma. And I get that you can make the excuse that it's an alien and stuff, but it's like little things like that, like they censor themselves. And then the Honeybee Inn was the only one where, okay, it was cool. Like, they changed that. Instead of it being like, you know, like a brothel thing, it was like this drag party kind of thing, and which was fine.
I thought that was pretty cool too, but
so they still added that, you know, like fresh flair kind of thing. So that was fine.
But that doesn't change like major elements of the storyline or anything.
I'm not a strict guy where it's like, no, you can't change anything. There are little things you can change. There's new characters they introduced and it was fine. Oh, here's the other watered down thing. Okay, again, they weren't afraid to kill off characters. Like, they weren't. It just added to the game, like, yo, this is real. Big, Wedge, Jesse, and those three technically don't die. I think Jesse finally dies. I don't know the girl. I don't remember. But Wedge, in the original game, he falls off the tower, and then you're talking to him, and then he's like, his last words were like, hey, sorry, Cloud, or whatever. And then he dies right there. Like, you see him die. And Aerith is trying to take care of him and all that stuff. It doesn't say that he's dead, but, like, he fell. He's dead.
Yeah.
And then when the explosion happens, when the pillar falls, it's 100% they're dead. And in the remake, they made him survive. And it's like, dude, why? Like, honestly, like, why?
Yeah.
And then they introduce these ghosts, and then they're trying to introduce this time travel, this universe era. And my question is, it's why? Like, the only reason why this game is even successful to get a remake is because people fell in love with the original.
Yeah.
That's why. Why are you changing it? And my point...
Yeah, just give the people what they want. They want the same story with updated graphics.
And then, like, and then real quick, if anybody tries to debate me, one thing I like to pull out is Capcom did it better. I like to think of the boardroom meeting with RE2 and now with RE4.
That was a great remake.
Oh man, RE2, this is how I picture the boardroom meeting. Hey guys, so we got in charge of making RE2 remake. What do the fans want? Better graphics, modern voice acting. Any change to gameplay? No. Any change to maybe the story? No. The fans want it just the same. So
I mean, they did make some changes to the gameplay, but they were like positive changes. They're like, oh, we'll put the camera over the shoulder. That's like
like RE4, yeah.
Yeah.
So they made minor changes of that, but they were like, so the story.
Yeah, if it's gonna be a remake, just do things that are gonna slightly enhance it,
Exactly.
or enhance it but not change it. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
That's how you piss people off.
I'm in the minority when I say, like, I like the turn-based battle style. I get it. Not everybody likes that. It's not modern. So when they said, like, oh, we're gonna make it action-y and all that stuff, I was fine with it. I was like, all right, cool. Just don't change the damn story, because that's what made this into a legacy. That's why every other Final Fantasy, every fans you meet where they go like, oh, 4 is my favorite or 6 was my favorite, even they're not going to deny that 7 is king. 7 is the best. 7 has the legacy.
Yeah, you always hear people talk about 7.
Yeah, and so it's like, you want to know why it's that big? It's because of that original game. That original game, that PS1 game, is what spawned off movies, side stories, novellas, and stuff like that. It's like, don't mess with that. If you're gonna reboot
when
it,
are they gonna learn? When are they gonna learn?
I blame Tetsuya Nomura because he was like, "Oh, people like the convoluted of Kingdom Hearts, so I'm gonna do the same thing with 7." Why? To end is, I'm kind of boycotting the game. The next part 2 to come out, I'm not gonna get it until afterwards. I want to be spoiled. I want to see what they do. If they do any more like changes, then I'm not going to support it. I refuse. You killed my childhood. I'm just going to keep playing the original.
So you're just going to wait, see what people say, and then judge if you want to get it or not.
I'm just because the remake, I bought it day one. I bought the deluxe. I was like, hell yeah, and then I got disappointed and cried myself to sleep.
I'll say same here. I bought I didn't buy the deluxe version, but I bought like the normal version day one. And initially I was like, yeah, this is pretty good. And then, as I get more into the story and it keeps building on, it's like, okay, yeah, you're doing way too much with Midgar. Like, Midgar was okay, but it was like when you got out of Midgar and you started exploring and you started getting all the twit, like to me, that was the good part of the story. And we never got to like any of the best parts. Like, because we never got past essentially the first disc.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The last thing I wanted to say, sorry, I keep saying last thing. It's not even the last thing. It's that the remake, okay, be that as it may, like whatever. Just make it the first Midgar part, whatever. People are going to be mad about it. But don't give me the fight with Sephiroth at the end. That's what we're building up to. So now, as a fan, I really felt like I finished the game because I fought Sephiroth. That's it. That was the whole build-up. So I fought Sephiroth. And when I was talking to Nicky about saying, like, the mystery of Sephiroth, you physically don't see Sephiroth in the original game until you go to Calm and Cloud's giving his flashback. And then that's when you start to see who Sephiroth is. This one, they started hinting out because I felt like they were impatient. Like, hey, remember Sephiroth? And then they show Case Sith in one cutscene. It was like, oh, hey, look at Case Sith, but you don't get to play as him yet. They showed Red 13, but he's not a playable character.
Yeah.
And it felt rushed. It felt watered down. It felt like, hold on, look at all these characters. Oh, look at this Easter egg. And I just thought like it was insulting to the fans overall. And then the whole Dementors things, it's just, oh my God, it just pisses me off.
Yeah, to me, it just needs to be edited. I feel even even the original Final Fantasy VII needs to be edited a little bit. And now you have this like just this bulk of a game that's like expanding it even more. It's just like, it didn't need to be expanded. Like, it's so much.
There were some things I did like about the remake, like very little things. Like I did like the flushing out story of Avalanche. I did.
I did like the story. Like you get Jesse's a little bit more of those characters and stuff. I did like that.
I did like that.
But yeah, it just causes it to drag though, because you don't. If they were able to get the rest of the game in there, it would drag so much.
It would drag so much, and I'm a super fan. Don't get me wrong. I would have devoted 300 hours into the game, but not if you're gonna change what I loved about it.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
And then I hear this argument like, oh well, like they want to make fans surprised and all that stuff, and I'm like, no, fans don't want to be. They want to relive that thing.
Not if it's a remake. Do a new game.
Fans want to see Aerith die in 1080p. Like, come on.
So I found another thing for the future.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So apparently Final Fantasy 16 is currently in development for the PlayStation 5. It's supposed to be an exclusive, but also be on PC, I think, as well. So PC and PlayStation. And it's not confirmed, like an official release date yet, but it's slated to be released next summer. So summer 2023.
Nice.
Cool.
Are you guys going to play it?
I'm actually going to try to invest in a PC. I'm not going to get a PS5. I want to invest in a PC now. And I would definitely invest in it. Like, because they're bringing back, like, kind of like the old era of, like, job system. And they're kind of going back to their roots. And I'm looking forward to that. Like, I hope it does well.
Are you going to get it, Eric?
Yeah, I'll give it a try.
Yeah.
Give it a swing?
Yeah,
Is that what you almost said?
I might wait for it to go on sale, but
Yeah. It depends on how quickly I am to build a PC.
Did you find anything else for the future?
Nah, that's pretty much it.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, I did not beat the challenge, obviously. 'Cause I didn't beat the game. I didn't even get to the optional characters, I don't think. Did I?
Yeah, you could have unlocked Yuffie, but that was it. You didn't get to Vincent yet.
Man.
But they're not permanently lost. Like, you can unlock them.
You can do it at any point.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
For me, I ran out of time. I got all the way to the final boss. DJ watched me fail on the final boss right as he got here.
You have beat the game before though, so at least you have.
I didn't have a
beat
chance to like get everything organized and stuff. I was more like, I'm gonna turn off enemies so I can get to the end real quick, so I can try to do it before we record. But yeah, I was not successful.
Yeah, no, but honestly, you did a great job. You held your own. Like Eric made it to the second form of Sephiroth, and he was holding his own on the fight.
And then all your like characters, the HP was like 0, 1, 1. I was like, oh, I think you're gonna die.
I seriously think you can win with how your characters are. If you, so, just looking from your item list, if you just quickly organize that, maybe organize your materia.
Yeah.
My biggest advice is have one attacker, one support, and one healer. Like, that person's job is just to heal. That person's job is to cast haste and the wall, and one person just attacking.
Yeah, you really do need like a permanent healer when you're going up against like the harder bosses.
Yeah. And then equip accessories to try to protect against Frog and Minnie.
Yeah, I had Ribbon, but I forgot that he cast those, to be honest.
But you
so I guess we'll be wrapping.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys.
We kind of already talked about it, but so I guess we will be wrapping. DJ, hit that button.
From a gold casino, behold, it's me, Dio, with a body chiseled from Geos, and a trio of 3 hoes. I'll be flexing my mustache, flashing my lush cash, or stashing a splash of criminal trash, my personal cash. A prison stash in a desert, arisen just to convert. Stocky gun-armed lackeys into cocky bird jockeys. Built a Kawasaki to spec, and then had it wrecked with a mech. And when I flex, sound effects with my pecs, like your mom when we're having sex.
I'm a tall, bald man with a little goatee. That's right. You know me. I'm rude, I'm crude, and socially unacceptable. And you and your friends, y'all are criminals. A member of the Turks with my cool sunglasses. I'm taking names, gonna kick y'all's asses. I don't say much, but when I do, listen up or you'll be seeing things ×2. I'll beat you up until you're black and blue, and then I'll find your girl and make her say ooh, ooh.
Soldier first class, Cloud Strife coming up in the scene, trying to stop Sephiroth and the menace he be. Get him with the slice, the dice, the blur, then the flash. 15 cut on me slash. What you know about Barrett and all his catastrophe, fighting for the planet and protecting Marlene. President Shinra, you know what time it be. It's avalanche time with Red 13. Changing up the flow, dolphin blow. Zang taught Tifa to throw elbows. Reno doesn't know, Rude wants a show. Here comes Tifa with that big judo throw. Vincent Valentine, will you be mine? Full of the destruction that you'll leave behind. Gil on my mind, chaos on the rise. Cap Hojo with your gun and save us time. What's the best game out there? Well, come here, buddy, don't you sweat it. It's called Final Fantasy VII, and don't you ever forget it.
Whoa, Dom, you didn't tell us you had mad rapping skills.
Compared to Eric?
You tried to play it off like, oh, I'm not creative. Like, and then you just came out here, flowed.
Yeah, I liked it, man. I thought it was good.
I appreciate it. But nothing compared to Dio. I'm sorry. That was awesome.
Dio is an underappreciated character.
Yeah. I like how we had rap from Dio and Rude.
Yeah,
Dio and
Rude. Yeah,
That's a new rap group we should start.
I wouldn't have expected you to write one from Rude's perspective.
Rude, yeah. I was surprised when you messaged. I did one for Rude. I was like,
you know what?
all
I was
right.
just looking at all the characters. I'm like, he looks cool.
yeah.
And I was like, I bet no one else will pick him to do a rap like from his perspective. So, you know.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is our season finale.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for joining us. We do also have an announcement about our first episode of next season.
Yeah,
though,
we got
too.
a special guest coming on for that episode too.
Yeah,
Nice.
we're just special guesting it up over here. But our friend Doug is gonna be on our next episode.
Yeah,
so
I
we'll
know.
take a little bit of a break and then we'll come back with next season.
Doug was really disappointed he couldn't be on this episode because he is also a huge Final Fantasy VII.
Oh yeah, he has like all the swords.
Oh, that's awesome.
He actually has like a replica like Buster sword.
That is so dope.
It's
Yeah.
like it's heavy as shit. too.
Yeah, I've seen videos. I would drop that money for that. I want it on the wall.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So we got a message from Doug. It says, "Hello, press any buttoners. Your souls are about to be mine." Ha 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 ha. Parentheses, Shelby told me to say that. He's like, "I cordially invite you to participate in a little contest known as Mortal Kombat. It's time to test your might against 7 unique combatants. If your skills prove worthy enough, you could be the proud owners of this new Goro Funko Pop doll." So I guess we get an actual prize if we do this
Yeah.
challenge. That's cool.
I should have offered a prize. Dang.
So,
No.
so Doug is kind of breaking the rules a little bit
What?
because he gave me a separate challenge
What a
from
jerk.
you. So I have a challenge and
No,
then
I'm
you
kidding.
have a challenge. So my challenge is, so we're playing Mortal Kombat 1
Yeah.
on Super Nintendo, right?
Yeah.
So my challenge is to beat the tower on medium difficulty and perform a fatality with all 7 combatants.
Yeah, that's the hard part.
That's the hard part. I suck at doing fatality moves. And then Eric, your challenge is to unlock the fight with Reptile and finish him with a fatality.
Yeah, that's really tough too because you have to get like a bunch of perfect games in a row.
Oof.
And then I'm stuck with fatalities too, so I'll have to figure that out.
Yeah. No.
But
that's
yeah,
gonna be-
I'm excited. We had Doug's wife Shelby on for our Animal Crossing episode.
Yeah.
And so I think this will be so fun.
Yeah. Awesome.
I've actually never played Mortal Kombat 1 either. So
What?
the time is now.
Even in the arcade?
Oh, yeah, I played it in
okay.
arcade.
Yeah.
But yeah. Well, I guess that's the end of today's episode. See you guys next time.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.